Hello everyone, welcome to the Solo Gaming Spotlight. Today I'm going to be giving you a condensed playthrough of Aventuria's The Forest of No Return. And why this is such an important playthrough today for me is I've played 4 games with him so far, and this is going to be my 5th one, but this is going to be the first adventure where Heigan actually has the possibility of permanently dying. Now so far I've added a one-handed crossbow to his deck, and as you can see down below, I went and I've adjusted his craft score from an 8 up to a 10. And I've house ruled an XP system, and he doesn't have enough XP to get resurrected if he goes down this mission, but don't worry, it's not going to affect the Forest of No Return on the playthrough. So let's get the flavor for the story. I'm going to quick summarize each section and the reason, give the reason why we're making the skill check. We're going to do the skill check. There's 3 tests in all, and then we're going to get into the combat. Now for this combat, I am going to be using the health tracker for the character that came with this expansion. It's an older expansion. It's a shame. I really like this circle counter here. So I'm going to go ahead and use it for this mission. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's not going to match the character I'm playing, and this will avoid confusion down the road. Okay, so for the Forest of No Return, let me just bring my deck on up here because we might have to interact with it. Basically, the king has asked us to find a parchment that contains his family heritage, his family tree, so that he can prove he's the rightful heir of the kingdom. So we have to get to Castle Andergast, and we have to go to the Forest of No Return to get there. We head in, we come across a cabin. Somebody sneaks up behind us with a bow, and we have to talk our way out of it. So we have to make a persuasion roll. And we can see here that our persuasion is a 10. We have to roll 10 or less. Well, we have a Aventuria sign. That's a 1. That is a critical success. That's kind of rare. So the man realizes that we don't belong to the bandits who are threatening the area around here, and he bids us a hearty welcome. He tells us where the dangerous areas are, and to represent that, we get to draw an extra card for the upcoming combat. And of course, that'll come in handy. We're going to continue on, and we come across a gentleman with tattered clothes in a cave, and we have to make a perception roll. Now, our perception's a 10, so we have to roll lower than that, and we get a 2. We pass. So he lets us know that Castle Andergast was destroyed by an army of undead and is now ruled by the evil mage Murgle, hatching his sinister plans. So we might have bitten off a little bit more than we can chew as we head towards Castle Andergast. So we continue on through the forest towards the castle, and at some point the trees start attacking us with their branches, and we end up having to make a survival roll. And we can see here that it's also a 10, our survival check. We have to roll under that. Another critical success. This is a very good omen for today's adventure. And we managed to get out of the way of all the swipe attacks from the trees, and we are even able to help one of our companions, but unfortunately we are solo. If another hero's survival roll fails, you may allow her to reroll to die. It has no effect, so no worries. In the distance we can see Castle Andergast, but suddenly a swamp monster blocks our path, and it is time for combat. We're going to get set up using the parameters right here in the book. I've already got it set up on the board here. So we have a special environment here called the Corduroy Road, and I guess that represents a single file path that we can only attack maybe the front enemy in it. And the henchmen, as we put them out onto the game board, we're going to only be able to attack the henchmen furthest to the right. And so the henchman deck is made up of bandits and animals from the forest. Now, for this combat here, we have a special action we take called Penetrate Illusion, and it has 2 tokens to start out on it. So apparently the swamp monster is nothing but an illusion, and we can use our willpower check to do it. We have a 10, so it's a 50-50 shot for us, and if we roll under the 10, we get to remove a token from the illusion. And we can see right here on the Penetrate Illusion card that if the time counter ever gets down to 2, we're going to have to discard an endurance card for each token that's left here. So once we go ahead and penetrate the illusion, we're going to flip the card over, and then we are able to actually attempt to touch the illusion and dispel the spell, defeating the swamp monster. In order to win the mission, the combat, we have to defeat all the enemies in play. Alright, let's take a look and see which enemy or enemies are accompanying the swamp monster. We have here an orc archer. We can see up in the top right corner that he has a threat value of 4, which satisfies the requirement for this scenario. So it's just going to be the swamp monster and the orc archer for the first couple rounds of the battle until other enemies start to join the swamp monster illusion here. So enough, we got the enemy already all set up. Let's go ahead and set up Heigan. We're going to start by drawing 5 cards. And we're going to add the 5 cards down to the other one we gained from our successful skill check on our critical success. And now we're going to draw 2 cards for the beginning of the first round. Let's take a look at the cards we have. We can take up to 2 of these cards and put them down as endurance points. So we put it down in front of us and we can exhaust it like that to generate an endurance point, which we can use to pay for different actions like penetrating the illusion or attacking. And they're going to be face down like this. Now this card here, Knockover, I have 2 copies of this in my starting hand, and I'm going to use both copies as endurance cards. And that's mainly because they're one-time use cards. But let's take a look at the other cards I have in my hand. Up top, we can see the 3 cards that I could actually play because they only cost 2 endurance points, and that's all I have at this point. So let's focus on them first. The one all the way to the right is our healing potion. Now, we're not damaged at all, so we're not going to play that. Also, the red frame around it shows us that it's a one-time use card. After you use it, it goes to your discard pile. Another card that we have is the Knockover, which you actually use as endurance points. This is a one-time use card as well, and you roll 2d6. You and an opponent lose health equal to one of the die results. You decide which result applies to whom. Now, if you roll 2 6s, you have to take 6 damage along with the enemy. I don't find that to be a very useful card, and that's why I use both of them as endurance points. Now, what I always look out for is better weapons and armor. And Heigan starts out with throwing knives, which we exhausted. It costs 1 endurance point, and you do 1d6 worth of damage. The spear thrower, 1 endurance point, you exhaust it, 1d6 plus 3 damage. 3 endurance points, 3 extra points of damage every time you hit. Heigan's to hit for a ranged weapon is 12. So I'm looking to upgrade this next turn if possible. Now our leather shield here allows us to stop 2 incoming damage each turn. We have to exhaust it, so we can only use it for 1 attack. And we also get the option to make our opponent reroll the damage dice from the attack, and the new result counts. So that could be a little dangerous. If we reroll a 4, we might end up getting a 6. It is what it is. Stopping incoming damage, always a good plan. We have options. Another good card that fits in with our ranged attack scheme is Exploit Weakness. It costs us 3 endurance points, but if an opponent loses health due to one of our ranged attacks, we get to draw a card from our hero deck, and that is a fantastic ability. And these last 2 cards could really come in handy in this adventure where we can only attack the furthest enemy to the right. First, we have Binding on the left here. And when you're playing in adventure mode, which we are doing, you only read the text box in the bottom left there. Once per turn, we can discard a card from our hand to make an opponent of our choice lose 3 damage, which could come in handy in this particular adventure. But it's expensive. It costs us 4 endurance points. I'm probably going to use this as an endurance card, possibly next turn. Now, our last card is Sweeping Blow. This is a one-time use card. You can tell by the red framework. An opponent of your choice loses 4 health. Adjacent opponents lose 2 health. That can be very good for this adventure, but I tend to value one-time use cards less than permanent cards, so I'll probably end up using this as an endurance card as well. And on this turn, with my 2 endurance points, I'm going to make a ranged attack with my throwing knives. I also want to penetrate the illusion with my other point. So I'm going to go ahead and try to penetrate the illusion first. I use my willpower, which is a 10. And I have to roll underneath the 10 to successfully do it. I got a 12. I was not able to penetrate the illusion. So let's go ahead and spend that endurance point for trying to penetrate the illusion. And as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and spend the other endurance point for our ranged attack against the Orc Archer here. We need a 12 or less. A 14. So we failed this, but we do get a fate token, which we can spend to re-roll. Now, the English version does specifically state you can only use it to re-roll, but a friend of mine over from Germany, Hinter dem Auge, I hope I pronounced that correctly, has pointed out that the German rules, you don't just use it for re-rolling dice, you can also use it as an endurance point or to draw a card, and I love that, so I'm going to go ahead and use the German ruling. And it's now time for the enemy's turn. So simple to run. We just roll dice. We're going to start with the swamp monster, go to the Orc Archer. And usually the lower you roll, the more savage the attack they end up getting on you. So let's see what the swamp monster ends up rolling. A 3. So we just got swamp gassed by the swamp monster. And this is brutal. We have to lose an endurance card and take 1d6 plus 2 points of damage. So much for getting our spear thrower out next round. Let's see how much damage he does. That's a full 6 points of damage plus 2. 8 points of damage. We've got to try and dodge that. His dodge value is a 6. So if we can roll less than a 6, we can cut the damage in half to a 4. Oh, we came up short. So we take the full 8 points of damage. We go from 40 health down to 32. And we still have to face the Orc Archer and get rid of an endurance card. Now these are both knockovers, so it doesn't matter which one we take back. And the Orc Archer is going to go ahead and take a shot at us. An 18. And what's interesting is the Orc Archer can end up running away. If we're able to penetrate the illusion and defeat it, the Orc Archer may end up fleeing later on down the road. That's it for the enemy turn. We just got to go ahead and remove a time token now. And now we are down to 7 time tokens. At 5, we end up drawing another henchman to come out and fight us. So back to our turn. Let's go ahead and draw 2 new cards from the deck. Might have a couple new options here. We've got the Hidden Dagger, which is a one-time use card. Costs 2, and we play this card after we lose health from an opponent attack. And that opponent's going to lose 5 health. So we'd have to make sure that we save 2 endurance points. In case we get hit, then we can deal 5 damage. That's an option for down the road after we're set up, not in the beginning of the game. Now our other option is the War Lance. This is a melee attack weapon, and we get the -2 to our roll, which is fantastic. It does 1d6 plus 3, and it only costs 2. So just like that, our plans from last round to this round have changed. We're going to play the War Lance. But the first thing we have to do is put down our endurance cards. I'm going to go ahead and put down the copy. First I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to put down the copy of Knockover that we took back. I'm going to end up using this Sweep and Blow here, and I'm just going to put that in. It's a one-time use card. So let's put that down as an endurance point, and we now only have 3 endurance points to spend, but we're definitely going to be playing our War Lance. So let's just put the War Lance down. It's going to cost us 2 endurance points. And then we have a decision to make. Do we want to make our attack with our War Lance here? It's a melee attack, and it's going to be -2 on our die roll. So a 1 to 14 is going to end up hitting with it, because Heigan's melee attack is also a 12. Plus it does an extra 3 points of damage. Now we can only aim for the Orc Archer here, and I think it's way better for us to try to penetrate the illusion, because the Orc Archer can end up running away. So let's spend that endurance point to try to penetrate the illusion. Remember, our willpower is a 10. So if we roll below it, we'll be able to take one of those tokens off. So close. Oh, I actually have a Fate token. I can use this to actually make an attack against the Archer. All right, let's exhaust the card and go ahead and roll. Need a 14 or less. We got a 9. Technically a 7. So we definitely hit. We're going to do 1d6 plus 3 damage. Nice. That's a 6. 9 points of damage. Now, the Orc Archer does have 1 armor, so we're only going to do 8 points of damage to it, but that's still a nice shot. And that's it for our turn, so let's go right back to the enemy. Swamp Monster first, an 18. Nice. He's going to growl fiendishly. Okay, let's see what the Orc Archer's going to do. A 3. So we're taking 1d6 plus 5. Let's see. 9 points of damage. Wow, we are getting hit pretty hard. We got to try and dodge this one, too. All right, 6 or less. All right, we have to take the full amount of damage. That's 9 more points. Subtract it from 32, that is 23. We have almost lost half our life already. Woo! And that's it for the enemy's turn. That's another round of combat done. We remove a time token. We are now down to 6. After we remove the next one, we're going to have to flip out another henchman, and then we're no longer going to be able to attack the Orc Archer. So we got to try and finish him this round. All right, let's go ahead and refresh our endurance cards and our War Lance and draw 2 new cards. Stroke of Fate and Athletics. Stroke of Fate costs 1, and in an adventure we play this card when an opponent has a dice result of between 16 to 20, and then we can take a Fate token. I'm going to go ahead and use this card as an endurance point. And then the other card is Athletics, and it only costs 1, and it allows us to add 1 to our hero's dodge. Maybe jump out of the way of this Orc Archer and the Swamp Monster. Then I have to pick another card, and this 4 cost 1 Binding. Now, we have to discard a card. It costs 4, and we got to discard a card. It's just way too expensive, and even though it does direct damage, I'm going to end up using this as an endurance card. All right, and that's 2 endurance cards. We can't put down any more. I do know that I want to spend my first endurance point to go ahead and try and touch that illusion. I'm going to make a roll against my willpower. That means I got to get a 10 or lower to penetrate that illusion. All right, a 3. So we get to remove 1 token. And let's go ahead and spend another endurance point and make an attack with our War Lance. And remember, we get -2 when we make our War Lance attack. So anywhere from a 1 to a 14 is going to be a hit. Oh, it's a critical failure. And because of the critical failure, we're going to have to end up losing a card from our hand. That's actually the reason that sometimes I don't actually dodge when I get hit by one of the enemies. Let's go ahead and get rid of this hidden dagger here. And it goes to our discard pile. That card will be lost to us for the rest of the combat. And here during editing, I realized that I forgot to take a fate token here. That critical fumble hit me so hard that I myself actually fumbled. So I still have 3 endurance points I can spend. Let's see what we can spend it on. I think the leather shield might be a good option to try and reduce some of that incoming damage. It allows us to exhaust it to stop 2 points of damage from coming in. You can also re-roll that attack, which you're probably only going to do on a 5 or a 6. Maybe even a 4. So let's go ahead and put that in play. It is now the enemy's turn. And we're going to start off first with the swamp monster. A critical success. So he is going to blast me for 1d6 plus 5 points of damage. And I am just seeing now during editing that I'm supposed to discard 1 card randomly. I completely missed that during gameplay. All right, let's see how hard he hits us. 8. Oh, you know what? I forgot to grab a token from when I fumbled. Anyways, 8 points of damage. We definitely want to try and dodge that. 6 or less, a 3. So we cut that down to 4 points of damage. So we're going to go from 23 down to 19. And I'm seeing here during editing that somehow my leather shield got turned underneath my dice tray. Possibly when I was lifting it up. So one of the things about a critical success for the enemy is that they get to go again. So the swamp monster is going to make a second attack. A 6. Another swamp gas attack. We're going to take 1d6 plus 2 and lose an endurance card back to our hand. First, let's roll for damage. 2 plus 2 is 4 points of damage. So we are going from 19 down to 15. And let's discard card number 3 back to our hand. What the heck was card 3? Sweeping blow. All right, not bad. But nonetheless, we are still set back now down to 4 endurance cards. Max will get a 6 this turn. The Orc Archer is now going to take a shot at us. I'm hoping it's not a painful attack. 17. All right, he looks for a new target. And that's it for the enemy's attacks. We are now going to remove a timer token. It's going to bring us to 5. And it's going to now trigger. We have to draw a new henchman. We have a mean highwayman. And wow, he hits on a 1 through 14. 1d6 plus 3 damage. But he also has the chance to run away. 18 through 20 is flight. And he's got 12 health and 3 armor. Anyways, it's back to our turn. Let's refresh our cards and end up drawing our 2 cards back up. We've got Series of Blows and our Balestra. Now, Series of Blows costs 4, and we get to pick one of the enemies, make up the 5 melee tests, stop it as soon as we fail one, and then every successful test we deal 2 points of damage, and they don't count as attacks. In our Balestra here, it costs 5, but look at this beast. -2 to our ranged attack, and it does 2d6 plus 2. That is a heavy hitter. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use that Series of Blows and the Sweeping Blow card, which got discarded back into our hand, and use them as endurance cards this round. We now have a total of 6 endurance points to use. Now, I would love to put this Balestra out and use the last endurance point to shoot it, but I really think I need to penetrate that illusion so that these enemies have the chance to run away. So what I'm going to do here is play the healing potion. It's going to cost me 2 endurance points. Let's pay for that. And it's going to heal us 6, and then we're going to go ahead and put it in our discard pile. That's going to take us from 15 back up to 21. We have 4 endurance points left. Let's spend another one to try and penetrate the illusion. We're going to need a 10 or less to succeed. Yes, we got a 2. So we now penetrated the illusion, and we're going to flip this card over, and we're going to be able to try and attempt to touch the illusion. And how we actually touch the illusion is we can exhaust any amount of endurance cards that we'd like. Then we make a roll, and if our roll is lower than the amount of endurance cards that we've exhausted, we have successfully touched the illusion and defeated the swamp monster. Now we only have 3 endurance points left, so trying to roll under a 3 is not very likely, but I do have an fate token here, which can actually increase it to 4 to go ahead and take out the swamp monster here. But I'd like to see what's in my hand first. All right, so we have athletics here, which is only going to cost 1. And I'm going to go ahead and play that. Because it only costs 1, it's going to increase my dodge from a 6 up to a 7. You never know. That might help out down the road. So let's go ahead and spend 2 endurance points and take a 10% shot. I'm going to hold on to my fate token and see if Heigan can come through and successfully touch the illusion. All right, we need a 1 or a 2. A 10. We did not do it. All right, our turn's over. We're going to go right back to the enemies, starting off with the swamp monster. Let's see what he does. 10. Evil energy. We're going to suffer 1 to 6 points of damage, 2 points of damage. We're going to go from 21 down to 19. We're not going to bother dodging for 1 point. I'd rather not risk losing a card. All right, let's roll for the Orc Archer. A 15. All right, he's going to do nothing and look for a new target. Let's go to the Mean Highwayman. A 14. And it looks like he just got us with a melee attack, and we're going to suffer 1d6 plus 3. All right, so that's 6 points of damage. We got to try and dodge it. 7 or less. 19, we did not do that, so we're going to take the full 6 points of damage. And we're going to go from 19 down to 13. But the good news is that's the end of their turn. We're going to take a timer token off. I forgot to move one over. So next round, we're going to end up getting another henchman come out. That's not going to be too good. Oh, you know what? I forgot to use my shield here. So let's go ahead and exhaust that and give Heigan back 2 health. I'm not carrying around a shield for nothing, you know. All right, let's refresh everything and draw our 2 cards and see what we get. All right, we have shield combat and carousing. Oh, I like carousing. Shield combat. We get to use our shield here. Whenever we do, we get to do damage equal to the protection. So we're going to end up being able to do 2 points of damage every time we protect with our shield. And it only costs 1. We have a tough decision to make right now. What 2 cards do we use for endurance points? First, let's take a look at carousing. So carousing only costs 1 and it comes into play exhausted. But starting next turn, we can exhaust this card to get an extra endurance point. That is awesome. I definitely want this card. There's not even a chance of me using this as an endurance card. All right, next up is the shield combat, which I've already went over. That's only cost 1. I'm not going to use that as an endurance card at this time either. Next up is the Balestra. I know it costs 5, but it's a ranged attack. We get -2 on it to hit, and it does 2d6 plus 2. That's just too good. I'm not using that as an endurance card either. So exploit weakness here. If an opponent loses health due to one of our ranged attacks, we can draw a card from our hero deck. Card draw is fantastic in this game, and I have my Balestra, which is a strong ranged attack with -2. I get a better chance to hit. I don't want to get rid of this card either. So our Spear Thrower is an easy decision. We've already got our Balestra, which has a better chance of hitting, so we're definitely using the Spear Thrower as an endurance card. I just can't figure out for the life of me one of the other 4 cards to use. And this is actually the part of the game that I really love. Do I play one of these cards that I really want as an endurance card, or do I hold on to it even though I know I need to get an extra endurance card out there to have a better chance of defeating the leader? So I think I'm just going to go only playing 1 endurance card. I'm going to start out. I want to play carousing. It comes into play exhausted. It only costs 1. I have a total of 7 to spend, so now I'm down to 6. And I want to get my shield combat into play, so I'm going to spend 1 to do that. And now I have 5. And it's only going to cost me 1. I'm going to get a shot with my War Lance on the Mean Highwayman. So let's see if we can run them through. We need a 12 or less and 11. So let's go ahead and do some damage to him here. And a 1. That's only 4. I think what we're going to need to do is we're going to take Heigan's special ability. And once per combat, we're allowed to reroll the damage. And then I'm just going to flip him over to show that that ability's been used. All right, that's much better. 8 points of damage. Now, the Highwayman does have 3 armor, so it's only going to end up being 5 points of damage. But that's a good start. And I think I'm going to spend my last 4 to take it. I'm going to make an attempt at touching the illusion. Now, I do have my Fate token. I could take 2 shots, but I think I'm going to save that for next round. Maybe when I have a better chance, depending on what cards I get. So I need a 4 or less. I got a 9, so Heigan is unable to touch the illusion. Now, I could use my Fate token to take another roll, but I think I'm going to wait till next turn, see what cards I get, and maybe have a better shot at it. All right, it is now time for the enemy's turn. A 15. Okay, so the Swamp Monster is back to growling fiendishly at us again. So let's take a look and see what the Orc Archer is going to do. A 14. He's not going to do anything. So we're going to go over to the mean highwayman and see what he does. All right. A 13. So he's going to melee attack us for 1d6 plus 3. Let's see how hard he hits us. Oh, like a 6. He is mean. We have to try to dodge this. 7 or less. 12. We didn't dodge it. My goodness. So we definitely have to use our shield. I didn't use this. No, the swamp monster. Neither of them attack. I'm gonna get the 2 blocker for 2. It only takes 7 points of damage. We're now down to 8 health, and we're like 1 attack away from possible death here. Before I forget, let me go ahead and use my shield combat. I'm going to end up doing 2 points of damage to the mean highwayman. And that's it for the enemy turn. Let's go ahead and remove a time counter. And another henchman's going to join the fight. An orc highwayman. 15 health, 3 armor. He's tough as well. He also has the chance of fleeing. Now, it's only a 19 or 20, but that's better than nothing. All right, let's refresh everything and draw 2 new cards. All right, we have Armor Adaptation and Warfare. That's pretty good. Plus 3 to our melee attack, bringing it up to a 15. The War Lance, a 17 or less is going to end up hitting. That's almost a guaranteed hit. So let's take a look at Armor Adaptation. That's 0 cost. We can move an armor card from our discard pile into our hand. I don't have anything in my discard pile. And sure, I could draw a card, but I might get something I really want, and then Armor Adaptation will be on my discard pile. And I don't want that. I'd rather use it as an endurance card. Now, with only 8 health left, I'm kind of in a desperate situation. I think I need to play Warfare as well and be able to touch the illusion. So let me use Carousing for an extra endurance point, because I have to use everything to try and touch the illusion and have the chance of these enemies fleeing. So let's go ahead and attack the swamp monster. And we're going to need a 9 or less. A 2. We made it. So we penetrated the illusion. And the swamp monster is defeated and removed from the game. Now, I usually end up giving myself XP based on how much health they have. Now, he's an illusion, so he didn't have any health, but he was no pushover by any means. Plus, he's the leader. If I compare him to the mean highwayman and the orc highwayman, they're both worth 5 threat, and I feel the swamp monster's a little tough. He doesn't have the chance to run away. I'm going to end up giving myself 8 XP for him, which will allow Heigan to resurrect, and that'll be it. So hopefully we can kill some of these other enemies. Now, we can only attack the orc highwayman, and it is actually now their turn. It's the enemy's turn. They have the opportunity to run away now. All right, first up is the orc archer. See what he does. A 6. Starting hero suffers 1d6 plus 2 on a ranged attack. All right. 4. I'm not using my shield. And the reason for that is when I do use my shield, I have the opportunity to make them roll again. And I think I want to save that for a 5 or 6, which could end up saving my life, or it could backfire. All right, the mean highwayman. All right. A 16, so he does nothing. All right, now the orc highwayman. We might get out of this unscathed. A 3, not good. 1d6 plus 4 melee attack. We need as low as possible with this. Oh, 6. Well, that's why we saved our shield. So let's go ahead and exhaust it. And so if we roll a 4 plus 4 divided by 2, minus 2 for protection, dodge, we can't roll a 5 or a 6, and we're good. All right. Send word to the clerics. Heigan needs to be resurrected yet again. All right, so we have 5 damage, plus the 4 is 9, minus the 2 from the shield is 7. If we dodge it, it's 3.5. Rounded up 4, we're dead. I was hoping I made a math error there. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and I got 0.8 XP from that. Let me grab my sheet and tally it up. So 0.8 from that mission. We'll bring this to 10.4 for our total XP. That means now we just leveled up to level 3. 0.8, 3.4. We need to spend 3 of that. we have 0.4 left over. So if we die the next mission, there's not even a chance of getting resurrected because it's going to cost us 4 XP to get resurrected. We've earned a total of 10 XP, which we're now level 3. Once we hit level 5, we got to play on the normal time scale instead of easy. I don't know if we're going to I don't think we're going to make it that far. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm probably going to end up playing the Ship of Lost Souls. Take Heigan on one final adventure. Hopefully it's not his last adventure, but it may be. Until next time.